What's happening?
What's up, everyone?
What is
another
good?
great week.
Yes, sir. Week, baby's a week older.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
going on 19 days old.
19 days of adjustment to the new life. Yes.
Yes. To be honest, for me, obviously Anna may have a different thought. To me, it's not that crazy. We've been lucky, knock on wood. He sleeps, he doesn't really whine or cry that much, which is great. So, it's just the one thing is, the 24-hour around the clock care, it's like you don't have a breath, a time to breathe a little bit. But other than that, we've been adjusting. Now it's trying to incorporate, the real estate stuff. You and I were talking a little bit beforehand, how do we slowly incorporate it? It's a whole new world. I always thought, prior to this, I'm like, man, how do people, especially like grown kids in sports, like how do agents even navigate? I'm struggling before I had a kid with time management, showings and clients and all of those things. But it kind of goes back to what we're going to talk about a little bit today, value and leverage and consultations and, the agents that, those agents that have kids, like, they don't have a choice. It's like you have to operate a certain way within your real estate business, and you have to operate with clients that understand that that's how you have to operate.
Yeah, it really is. You just got to be a little more intentional, right? That's why, you don't, you lean more into 168, right? Really the Sunday planning and make those adjustments as the week is different. Every week is going to be different. Even more so now, right? Now it was like you and another person. Now you got to, factor in two people outside of yourself. And it's just a little more time. It's just an additional part of the Sunday process, right? You got it. Now you get to factor in kids, where the kids got to be. Do we have any doctor's appointments? Kind of what's going on? Do we need some support over here? Anna needs my help here, right? So it's just that extra, just one extra thing that you got to kind of think through to navigate into the calendar. It goes back to right things in the right order, and it's always lifetime value activities, things making yourself better, but things for your relationship, those things go in first. And so now you get to factor in a little one, and that just goes into that factoring of that equation. And like you said, sometimes you make adjustments on the fly, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you kind of roll with it with the kiddos. And I think as much as we want to try to stay as business related, as professional as possible, I mean, sometimes, like you said, you have certain clientele. If something happens, I think as long as it's not the norm, I think nobody really, it's not that big of a deal. And so it's, we tend to make more of a big deal out of it than most people do. And I used to be that way early on too. It's like, oh, no, got to, get the kids, keep them quiet. Right. And then it's just it's just a maturity thing or whatever. It's like, people really don't care. At the end of the day, most of the people that we're working with, they just don't care. And so I think not overthinking it, but just to that point, just being a little more intentional, just taking a little more time to be thoughtful through, and adding kiddos, and just even with a lot of agents right now, their world's about to be upside down, especially for a lot of that have kids in school as school's getting out. So now they've got to navigate that into the coming weeks and navigating in where the kid's going to go. So it's just an extra little equation that has to be thought through when we're, really obviously focusing on the month, but how are we going to be able to commit to this week?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's where I kind of got to get better at, to be honest, is I am that rigid person, like I like things, like especially with my calendar, I like to do things the same time every single day, every single week. And I like certainty. I think that's a challenge for a lot of real estate agents. is, you have people that are okay with the uncertainty, and you have people that absolutely need certainty. And in our business, there's a lot of uncertainty. So how could you craft your day or your business to where there are certain things that will get you certain results, which is, I think, why, when I got in and Ryan's like, hey, we're going to do leads, and it's literally going to be sit here, call X number of leads to get X number of conversations to get X number of clients, worked for me because it was certainty. It was predictable. I understood it, and that's what I needed. And I think that's just kind of how I view my calendar. And obviously it's going to be different. I gotta embrace a little bit of the uncertainty moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly what it is. Right. And so you start to find certainty in other areas, and just know you got to be a little more flexible. I think then that really, zeroes back into what we've talked about in the previous weeks with, really building that business and that foundation. There are things that need to tweak, and then knowing, okay, yeah, ideally we want to try to stay consistently daily, but it's okay. Maybe, I know I have an opportunity to get 23, 28 points per day.
Yeah.
Maybe today I really only have an opportunity to get about half of that.
Yeah.
And then, I can double down on certain other days and certain pockets within the calendar. And it really just becomes, to be able to navigate it in more ritual than routine. Because if you're so rigid and you get just completely derailed on things outside of your control, how do you roll with that instead of taking a punch right to the face and then just sitting out rest of the day? It just doesn't work, right? We get punched in the face every day. It's just rolling with it. And okay, hey, I'm not able to make that. Let me move it over here. I'll still get it. And then it's like, okay, did I win the day? Not necessarily the full gamut. If I had the time, then great. But more so,
Right.
Did I win a week? Right? Like, what do I have to do this week? And then making sure that really setting the targets to the things to win the week and win the day within our control.
Yeah, I think you can lose the day but win the week, right? Lose the week but win the month. Lose a month but win the quarter, right? Maybe even lose a quarter but
Still win
the year,
Yeah.
And so, I think there's with more seasonality, at least in my market, there was more seasonality this year than there has been in the past 3 to 4 years. You have to roll with some of those punches. And also too, look at leverage points within the business. I was talking to an agent who's, in my market, different brokerage, and just talking with her, the power of a virtual assistant. Right.
Yeah.
And here's the mentality. And this is the conversation. Well, I don't know if I can afford that, but it's almost like you can't afford not to have them. Right. If you're doing 10 other things, I'm doing a lot of calls or coaching calls or trainings like this, or just, helping my agents out or whatever the case may be. But I have virtual assistants working in the background for me, creating opportunities, scrubbing the data. I still got to do some of the heavy lifting when it comes to the appointments, but, talking about the value advantage, that could be, hey, I got a team full of agents or a brokerage full of people that will step in the event that I can't do a showing. Yeah. Right. Or, if I can't get to an open house, right, I'll have someone there that will walk with you to that open house. And, we're never going to skip a beat when it comes to communication. If you're working off of a showing agent model, right? Hey, here's why it's to your advantage as a client of mine to not just work with me, but to work with me and my showing agent. You have 2 people at your disposal to answer any questions, schedule any showings. And to your point, honestly, that's what most people want. They just want to be able to get a response in an efficient way, in a quick way. And on the buy side, they just want to see houses. Right. Yeah. And so for me, that's always been one of my advantages to my clients is the power of a team or a community of agents around me that can step in when I'm not available.
100%. I think, to really honing in on, what buyers and sellers want, right? Yeah. I think that's the most important thing. And then being able to build your value stack, and then, it's to have the value, but then you got to be able to articulate the value.
Yeah.
And I think you start to look at, some of the key statistics, and Alex had a presentation, was able to go to Tyler, Texas, to Cindy Featherstone Shields' office on Friday. And Alex was with Alex and Tony King, VP of Growth at EXP. It was the three of us. And, Alex, dives deep into his presentation of, around YouTube and, kind of what's the content creation. And, he really, wants to build it around, what sellers want and what buyers want. So I'm just pulling up the statistics here. So this was all from NAR. And I know you shared, the statistic of what buyers want. And we know, a majority of the buyers want their agent to find them the ideal home, right? That's why we talk about being true from a consultative perspective, and really building out a strategy and a game plan is really the only way to do that. Then we know that they want their agent to get them in the best terms and payment, options and financing as possible, as well as negotiate for them on their behalf. And statistically, so thinking about this from your value equation, and always trying to think through the value stack, knowing the most recent NAR statistic that sellers want is that sellers want help marketing the home to potential buyers.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They want our help as agents to find a buyer. So they want you to market to potential buyers, and then they want us to find a buyer. They want their home sold in a specific time frame, and then they want help pricing their home. So that's what sellers want. They want agents to help find the right buyer, find buyers, find the right buyer, get it sold in a certain amount of time for the most amount of money. So that's really top dollar, specific time frame, smooth transaction. But finding the buyer. Okay. So think about these statistics, and we can kind of unpack it in the value stack, and over to what do buyers value the most, right? The statistic that we just talked about is what they want in agents. But what do buyers value the most? Buyers value photos and videos of homes by 81%. They value detailed information about the property for sale. 80%. 71% value floor plans, and 64% value virtual tours. So let's just unpack that right now on the value stack on the listing side.
Can I stop you real quick?
Yeah.
I hope people just took notes. I'm literally pen, paper, taking notes. And because you know what's funny about this, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was asked this question yesterday. It's like, what should I have in my buyer consultation? And I literally said, and this agent used to be on our team way back, 7, 8 years ago. And I said, so it goes back to the two things that I was always taught. There's over 80 different variables that go into the home buying process. And I believe that could save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars by you working with me. Right. Yeah. And so I hope you guys just took notes. What do sellers want? They want help to, marketing the property, finding the buyer, sold in a specific time frame, convenience, right? Speed, all of those things. And then pricing. And then what do buyers value? Well, you better make sure that you got great photos and video. Yeah. You better make sure that you have a very great, property description that goes into great detail of what that property is. 71% was, what was the 71%?
Floor plans,
which we don't do. It's not required.
Yeah.
It's not required, in our MLS to put in room sizes or anything like that. So that's an interesting stat. And then virtual tours, that's interesting. I would like to understand the distinction between virtual tours and a video walkthrough. Is that like Matterport, did they say? Yeah,
I would think so. I think something along those lines, right? You get photos and video of the home to be able to go through it, but then you've got an actual virtual tour. So let's you you laid the foundation for this right here. So let's talk through this. So you build out your value proposition. You're talking to a seller, and it's like, okay, Mr. Right. So part of your value stack is, hey, this is our marketing strategy to get to the most amount of buyers. And this is our plan to help find a buyer for this home. We know that this is what we'll do. We know buyers are either in the market, out of the market, or working with another agent. So we're going to be our strategy marketing to those 3 types of buyers. We know that your time frame. So we're gonna get real clear on your time frame, and then we're going to be aggressive on the pricing according to your goals and your time frame. So I'm just going to what they want. That's all. I'm just talking my value. And so what our plan is going to do is going to allow us to get the most amount of money in your time frame, and we're going to make the transaction as smooth as possible. But here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're different in how we market your property. Okay, most real estate agents are going to put a sign in the yard, minimum required photos, get it on the MLS, and let the MLS syndication do whatever it does. We know that that's not enough, and we know what buyers value. Buyers value great photos and great videos of the home. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to take professional photography. We're going to have professional video. I'm actually going to do video tours myself, being able to walk people through this home and showcase, because we know that there's either buyers in the market or out of the market, or buyers working with other agents. Well, we want to be able to get the video tours because we know the first showing happens online before somebody comes through the threshold. We're going to do and leverage all of our copywriting expertise. We're going to leverage some AI, but we're going to leverage all of our copywriting expertise to really nail and give as much detailed information about the property for sale as possible. We'll get a lot of that in the paperwork, in the paperwork that you have to fill out. So you'll give us some insight and some things on the property, but we're going to use all of that to give the most detailed description of the property, because we know that's what buyers value. We're also going to, if you have a copy of the floor plan, if we can get a copy of the floor plan, we're going to showcase and put the floor plan into the property as well, so that, because we know almost 70% of buyers value floor plans. So we want to be able to have a floor plan available for them to see. And then, part of our marketing packages are Matterport 3D tours. So we're going to get some virtual tours up as well, because we know, almost 65% of buyers value those home tours. So we want to check all the boxes, and we want to make sure that we have this marketed in the best way possible to what buyers really value in today's market. Is that okay with you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Right. So being able to you're just playing off of what they want. You're not trying to recreate the wheel. It's like, this is what they want. Let's give them what they want.
Yeah. And the way that you just explain it is the articulation of it. Right? Yeah. Like, and that doesn't mean that your, presentations have to be this 2 to 3 hour event, right? You don't have to be in the weeds. But if we can hit on the things, we're talking sellers, right? The value advantage of what sellers want, and how do we specifically market the property to give what buyers value most, then we're doing our job. So then, the 4 filters is, what do these sellers get before they ever become clients of ours? During the process of being client of ours, like that's kind of what we just, went through. Yeah. Hey, here's what you're going to get, after the closing. Right. Yeah. Hey, maybe they're sitting on $100,000 of cash that they just walked away from it. What do we do with it? Are they rolling it into a new home? Not, what are they going to do after the closing, or what are they going to get after the closing? And then what do they get through our partners? So, pictures and videos. Let me explain to you what, why we partner up with our photographer and videographer, right? A detailed property description. Hey, I use this new technology that allows me to make sure that we have, the exact copyrighting that we're going to need to get your home sold, to get the most eyeballs to truly explain your home to the consumer. Floor plan. That's a new one. Like I said, our team, we don't offer that, but I understand it. I get it. Think of new construction, right? They're always they're only typically looking at a floor plan sometimes on a piece of paper to get a layout, picture of it. And then virtual tours, hey, here's why we do the Matterports and all of those. This is just, and the reason is as humans, we all look at things differently. Like, I'm more of a visual person. I need to see something. I need to be able to, touch it and, do all of those things. Other people, they just want to look at the numbers, they just want the data to tell them. So we have to deliver on all of those different things. I like that a lot. But again, as agents, if you're struggling with this, it's not, this now becomes a 3-hour event.
Right.
We got to hit on the main things. That's why I love the 7 laws, right? The 7 laws of a listing, the 7 laws of a buyer.
Right.
Within those laws, you're highlighting key things that you believe that individual, because if you do the pre-listing questionnaire, you should pick up on how they want to see things or know things. And then you're hitting on key things within those 7 laws.
It's all right there, right? Don't overcomplicate it. And, like on the buy side, over 85 different variables in the home buying process. And really, in order for us to, like you said, save you tens of thousands on the home, future home ownership of your home, it's just really going to come down to, how many of these variables that we're able to proactively manage. And, we gave the value in the articulation of value on the listing side. On the buy side, it's like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we know, for to do our job is to find you the right home. That's what you're really looking to, or even coming to an agent for, is to be able to help you with that. And also, maybe, thinking through things to be able to get you the best possible, payment and terms, as well as, somebody that's going to, step in the ring and negotiate and fight for you for your best interest. And that's what we do. And part of our value advantage program is this, and this. And so, step one, right? Step one is being able to sit down and have a consultative approach and really formulate our strategy, moving forward to be able to make those things that are important to you come true. So it's just like, don't reinvent the wheel. Everything's there, and it's just being able to articulate what is important to them. And the statistics are right there. This is what they want. Just give them what they want.
Yeah. And even on the buy side, right? Like the number one thing is they want help finding the ideal home in a market where there's low inventory, right? Are you just sitting there and waiting for a house to hit the market? Are you going out and calling expireds? Are you calling cancels? Are you calling for sale by owners? Are you sending letters out to, the desired neighborhoods that they want to be in? Are you prospecting other real estate agents, right? Calling up other agents and just saying, hey, John, like, I got a buyer looking over in this area. Do you have anything or know of anyone that might have something coming up?
Give a couple of examples of that, right? Give a couple examples of that, because this is one of the most underutilized strategies. And, for us, like if we picked up a client and they were a physician or a doctor coming in, or they were looking in this area of where they wanted to be, we knew that there was a couple agents that dominated that area. And there was a couple agents that had the relocation contract for one of the biggest hospitals in our market. So guess what? When we had a buyer coming in that we were working with, that was one of the first people we called. We called that agent and just say, hey, what do you got? What do you got coming? What's not on the market? What do you know? Like, we've got a buyer. Let's play a little matchmaker. And vice versa on the other side. When we had a listing, we had a couple agents that were like hound dogs, man. When there was a big realtor bonus on a property, they magically would appear with buyers. It was wild. So guess what? When we threw down a big bonus out on there, as it's not always the strategy, but sometimes it is a strategy. And we would do that. We would just immediately pick up the phone and call those agents that jumped at the bonus. And guess who was scheduling a showing on our property within the next 24 to 36 hours every time. So I think you can't, avoid, those connections and those relationships. Any other examples, like for you guys, like certain pockets of the market? I mean, your, market is obviously, I almost feel like it's in between, obviously it was definitely in between Lawton and maybe a subset of kind of the Dallas area, right? North Dallas area. And then kind of Columbus and Lawton being small. So anything that, like for you guys, that how you're able to lean in from a value, because part of the value is the connections and the relationships and bringing things together.
And I missed on this probably for the first 7 years of my career. I was the agent that didn't care to know other agents, that didn't go to agent events, that didn't go to the happy hours, that didn't go to, the board meetings. I was that person. I was focused on myself and my team, and that was it. But I can tell you over the last 3-4 years, as our team has grown, that deals have happened because of relationships with other agents. It is what it is, right? Friends want to see friends win, and if they know me and how I operate, right, and this other agent, they don't know, but we have similar offers, guess who they're going to promote and hype up, right?
Right.
If they know my lender, and we've done deals with them, or they've done deals, it's just how it is. In our market, we leverage builders a ton right now because they're offering interest rate incentives and all of those things that are, lower rates than what you can do. So a lot of conversations with builder reps. Hey, what do you got? It may not be the ideal area, but it gets them that mortgage payment that they want. And now they got to drive a little bit more. I think about agents all the time in the sense of how many people are you talking to? How many agents are you talking to on a regular basis? Whether it's just to schedule a showing, or, maybe it's a current deal that you have going on, just simply asking the question, hey, John, just curious, do you have anything else coming up that I need to be aware of, or that you can share with me? Hey, do you know anyone in your office that has something? I got buyers looking in these areas. And I think one, too, right now is FSBOs. Every agent's calling. I just did 2 FSBO calls last night. And part of my script is like, hey, I know a lot of agents are just calling you to list their homes. I just want to get more information. Back to detailed property description, pictures, and videos. I can tell you FSBOs are not hitting on those 2 things. So, yeah. I'm calling and I'm just saying, hey, I got a team of 43 agents. We have buyers looking all over the place. Can you just give me a little bit more information on your house? Right? Hey, do you give me permission to advertise your home to my agents, to our buyers? And some people were like, well, why would you do that? Well, one, I'm building a relationship with this person. If they're selling the house, they have to move somewhere else. The 2 conversations I had last night, I'm like, hey, where are you guys going to next? Mm-hmm. Are you working with someone yet? Do you need help in that area yet?
It's amazing how many agents don't even ask.
It's just it's a relationship game. So every person that we talk with on a daily basis either owns a home or knows people that own homes. We're not necessarily hanging out with the homeless population. Right. So how many times are you asking the people that you come in contact with, hey, do you know of anyone that's thinking about selling a house? It could be your home inspector. It could be, home inspectors. How many of them are doing pre-listing home inspections?
Right.
Like you could ask. Those are just some of the examples. Circle prospecting. Are you dialing neighborhoods to, not just get listings, but find deals for your buyers? I had this conversation with one of the agents I coach. He has a listing that's sitting. It's a very unique property. Price point's very high. And, the strategy I told him was what you kind of just explained. Hey, in this geographical area, go and search every sold property that was that's comparable to yours, and over the last 2 years, and call every single buyer's agent and ask them, hey, do you have any buyers that are looking for other opportunities in this area? And or, hey, could you give me feedback as to what I could do better to get this property sold? Right? Because if they're selling in that area within that price point, they have buyers, especially if you see multiple sales, over a 1 to 2, 3 year period. They have the buyers within their database, within their network.
Yeah.
So leverage other agents. And what I told this agent, I said, then at the end of the day, you can report back to your sellers and you can say, hey, we've exhausted, right, all avenues at this point. Not saying that we're just going to stop, because we're not. But now you can go back and say, I'm putting in the work. I'm not just letting the listing or the house sit, right? I'm exploring every single avenue.
Right. Yeah, I think, being able to, sign on the MLS. I mean, obviously that was, downwind type of market, but when you're into a headwind type of market, you've got to do all the things at a deep level. right? You've got to get the maximum amount of exposure to understanding, especially so like the listing side, like what we're referencing to here is there's three buyers that are in your market, buyers that are out of the market, and buyers that are working with other real estate agents. So you've got to check all of those strategies off. You've got to be thinking through, and then you've got to, if you're not utilizing the things that we just shared on the value equation, what buyers value, and you've got listings that you've taken that are maybe sitting there, you need to revisit and probably re-strategize, re-game plan. And we call it, reposition. We probably need to take a little time and reposition the home in the market, make sure we've got badass up-to-date photos. We've got great videos. We've got video tours. We've got, hey, do we have floor plans? Can we get a sketch of the floor plan? Do we have measurements and sizes? Do we have, all of the things that they value, and reposition it, part of that back in? It's so key. And, just trying to create as much dang exposure, checking the box, like what we've talked about with other agents that have that tend to have a lot of activity in that area. And it's really getting down to, man, it takes all of the ways into the market that we're heading to right now, as we're starting to see, some properties are starting to sit a little bit longer. Some properties are still flying off the shelf, but that was always the case, even prior to when things weren't flying off the shelf. Some properties fly off the shelf. Some properties, bring a ton of demand for multiple offer situation. Just really depends on making sure, the desirable location that falls into, the wants and needs category, obviously condition, but it's always going to come down to, no matter what, it's always going to come down to pricing. So making sure that it's priced aggressively with the current market situation and the current market climate to be able to create that demand.
Yeah. And it's sometimes that is owning the process, right? And you always have to explain to the client what's in it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we know that we got to get our photos and our video, 100% dialed in, looking great online, that may mean you got to tell your sellers, hey, we're not ready yet. We need an extra week for you to give you more time to make sure you get the house ready to go. Right. Or that may mean, hey, one of the things you get by working with me is I have a professional cleaning crew that comes in prior to photos being done. Right. And they're going to do a deep clean and make sure everything's good. So, I was just talking to one of my, you got to own the process, let the clients make the decisions. But, if we know that they want us to help with marketing and finding the buyer and pricing, and buyers want great photos and videos, then we got to do what we can within our power to make sure that happens. Now, there's going to be those houses, right, where the sellers just can't do it, right? Maybe they're not in a financial situation, time crunch, or whatever the case may be. Cool. Now we got to adjust pricing, right, to attract. We can get away with some of that stuff as long as it's priced right. But we can't be priced up here and deliver condition down here.
Yeah. 100%, man. So back to the whole point, just understanding, kind of where the climate and the seasonality and kind of where the season of the market is at. I don't think we're at a point we can really shortcut any of the value creation right now. I think we got to be thinking of ways to innovate, which just means add more value. And it's one of the key things we talked about it at KT. We've got to be in a growth mindset with our business, and not just incremental, but like, how do we have 20% growth?
Yeah.
And obviously one of the requirements is a level of innovation. And all innovation is just adding more value. Remember, people only buy results. That's it. That's all people buy is results. And they're looking for a result to solve a problem. And what I mean by adding more value is more value to helping them get the result, more value in solving their problem. And I think that's one of the things that we've got to hone in on is this getting the result. If it's not going to help get the result, then all we're trying to do then is just improve the experience. And we got to make sure that we're not trying to just do so much to improve the experience and we're losing sight of what it takes to get the result. And so I think at the core meat and potatoes, right? The core meat and potatoes of getting the result is going back to, what buyers and sellers value, what they want, and making sure that we're taking the consultative approach and we're doing the things to, make that true.
And I think, asking the right questions, because a question that I just thought of that I'm probably going to add to the listing questionnaire that I don't think's on there is, hey, what do you expect from this process? What do you expect from me? I was just thinking as you were sharing that, right? Like, yeah, they can pay for the result, but you also can deliver an experience that they've never had before, right? And so they will pay for, a unique experience, right? And I was thinking like, hey, everyone go read Unreasonable Hospitality. It's a great book that will maybe open your mindset around what are some things that I can bring to the table that the consumer doesn't expect, but it's a standard for what we do. And I was just talking to one of my other agents because we're revamping our listing presentation and what we're going to bring to the table. And I literally just talked to her before jumping on here. I said, what are the things that we're going to disclose that we're going to deliver? And then what are the things that we're actually going to deliver that they don't know that's going to be a surprise, right? Yeah. And it can't just be, I don't want to say cheap, but it can't be cliche type of things, right? What is the wow factor, right? Do you have a new client sign on gift packet, right? After they sign an agreement to work with you to list your home, right? Can you deliver on some of those things? And then, so what are we disclosing that we're going to give? And what can be that wow factor, right? Yeah. That basically they take a photo of, and now we're getting free marketing, free promotion.
100%. I mean, anything that they could do to amplify and help. But as you were kind of talking through there, I was just listening. I think where my mind went with what you were talking about is, I think you also have to make, this is probably a business model discussion, is do you want to be the Ritz-Carlton or do you want to be Motel 6?
Yeah.
And so I think you've got to think through the drastic comparisons. And so it's what do you want to be? What do you want this to be? And obviously the greater the experience, the better probably the lifetime value. The more value articulation in solving the problem, the standard, the look, the feel that you want to go with. I would rather play that game. I would rather play game on more value, to the point of they're scratching their head and questioning how much this is going to cost them. And when you come in, even at a 3.5%, 4% on the list side, plus a transaction fee, they should still feel like, damn, okay. Like, I thought it would be more, right? Yeah. That's the question, the statement. That's what you're looking for. It's like, damn, I thought this would have cost me more.
And I think you have to believe that to your core, right? So if you go the Ritz-Carlton or the low end hotel, conversation I had with an agent, the same agent, we're talking about the listing. He's like, hey, someone in my neighborhood farms the neighborhood and they just offer 1% listing, right? And he's like, I'm battling in my mind. Do I do it just to compete or not? And I'm like, hold up. That's not you, right? That's not your core belief. You would rather deliver on experience, not on price, right? Or commission or whatever. And so you also have to believe that. The analogy I use all the time, like, well, why do some people value a $10,000 car to drive around in to get from point A to point B? And why does someone value a $150,000 car? There's a lot of things within that, right? And as agents, we have to be okay with saying some clients only want the $10,000 car, and some clients want the $150,000 car. You got to figure out where you fall within that spread, right? Of where you're going to deliver and how you want your business to look. And some people will vary on some things. They'll spend an arm and a leg on, and in other areas they'll be cheap, and frugal. And when we're having these conversations, we have to ask. The for sale by owner that I was talking to last night, he's going to list it in August. I said, cool. Is going, it was a weird scenario. It was for sale. He took it off, and I said, hey, just curious, like, are you going to go for sale by owner again in the future, or are you going to list with an agent? And he's like, I might go for sale by owner again because I can save on fees. And I literally, without hesitating, oh, so netting the most money is what you're most interested in, right? And it's like, yeah, of course. Yeah. And so, like, for him, and for most sellers, it's netting the most money.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't have that conversation over the phone, right? Yeah. As agents, you got to pick and choose your battles. But I know I have some time to potentially build up a relationship between now and when he's really needing and wanting to sell, to show how I can net him the most money possible by using a real estate agent. When we go back to what you started to call off, what do sellers want and what do buyers value? Yeah. And I know they typically don't deliver on some of these things that buyers value. And I do know that 70% of all real estate transactions have a co-op agent involved. And so a FSBO is actually marketing to buyers without real estate agents when they really need to be marketing to the real estate agents.
Right.
Right. And as an agent that lists the home, I'm marketing to the agents that have the buyers. Because I know a high majority of real estate agents actually don't call or look at the for sale by owner list every single day for the opportunities that pop up there.
Mm-mm. No, they don't. And so, yeah, there's so much there. I think, the big thing is not overcomplicating it. Understand that you don't want to compete on price. You want to always compete on value and offering as much damn value as possible. But that's, you nailed it, right? At the end of the day, the only thing sellers absolutely want is the most amount of money in their pocket. Distressed sellers that are in a lot of pain, they just want the pain to go away. So they want it to go away fast, obviously for the most amount of money that they can. But sometimes in that situation, they just want the pain to stop. So I think you just got to uncover what's important to them, and then, articulate your value in a way that they believe that you're able to do that for them. And it goes back to the value equation, right? They have a desire, either to the result that they want, and what is the pain of that not coming true, and they believe that you have this solution, and you have proof that you have this solution, and it's going to collapse time, and it's not going to cost them a bunch of burden and sacrifice, and that's where it becomes valuable. So understanding the value equation and playing to exactly knowing what they want, which is a little competitive inside advantage, and then just playing to that in everything you do, in your marketing, your message, your presentation, everything goes around what's important to them, because that's what you have to remember. What is important to them? And you already know what's important to them, but being able to articulate it in a way that solves that problem of what they're trying to accomplish.
Yep. 100%.
Good stuff. Well, guys listening in, if you are stuck, you're wrestling with this, us just kind of free flowing with you, but this is decades of understanding this and thinking about this and trial and error, executing and listening with this and the value equation. And so if you're struggling with it, jump on a call with John or myself, 7figurecall.com, go book a call. Doesn't cost you anything. Just go book a call. We'd love to have a conversation, help you get unstuck, give you a tremendous amount of more clarity, insight, direction, and obviously value for you heading into the market.
Great call. I enjoyed this.
Sir. Good stuff. Always, man. Always the value equation is always so good, because that's, our definition of innovation is just add more value. So when you're always thinking about the value equation, value articulation, running it through, kind of a filter, just how can we give more to the agents right now? It goes back to sellers want what we talked about, and then buyers buy payment. That's buyers buy payment. And so even if they're putting X number down, financing, whatever, unless they're just absolutely paying cash, but are they getting a return on that? But most buyers are looking for, what is it going to cost me per month? And sellers, how much money can you put in my pocket?
Yep. 100%. Simplify it.
Yes, sir. Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you as always. Guys listening in, connect with John, connect with myself, sevenfigurecall.com. And we will talk to you guys soon. See ya.